Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian Doe. I am a certified SolidWorks electrical specialist. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar on SolidWorks electrical and some tips and tricks that I'll share with you guys about 3D routing. In SolidWorks Electrical 2015, a new feature is added to assist with routing wires, cables, and harnesses in 3D. Routing 3D error analysis is a powerful method of pinpointing problems within your design and elucidating a solution. So within this webinar, we'll learn how to understand and resolve these types of errors. This webinar will take just a little under 25 minutes, and after that, I'll go ahead and open up the floor to questions. But to begin, we'll start with looking at the types of errors that will occur in SolidWorks Electrical 3D, and then the lower 6, these are going to be different types of errors that we'll go through that you'll see very shortly when I hop over into the 3D environment. So first, to generalize, there are 3 types of errors. The first one being error itself. So these are the symbols that you will actually see inside of SolidWorks Electrical 3D if you have the routing analysis tool checked on. Error, for the first one, error, these warnings relate to the data being incorrect, or a required part is not inserted, or a part is inserted many times accidentally, or perhaps a required connection point is missing from the 3D part. The second one is going to be warning. These indicate that there might be a possible error with the data being absent. It's possible that there is a wire without gauge information, or a connection of the wrong type, or it is also going to notify you if there is no valid path for the routing to latch onto. And the final one is going to be information. So this type will provide feedback on what could be an issue. So such as having a single terminal point on a part where the program sees the points, but perhaps is in your choice to exclude these terminal points deliberately. So this is just to kind of notify you that there could be an issue, or maybe it is okay. To show you how the system works, we'll go ahead and generate an example where each of these issues will occur. We will locate these issues in different parts of the assembly and fix each of the individual issues until the model is going to be fully resolved. All right, so I'll go ahead and open up the project. Okay, in this example project, we will look at a harness that is designed with 3 hermetic panel rear mounts. As you can see here, each of these mounts does also have some information attached to it. Some of the wires have already been displayed out. This is because this project is already connected to SolidWorks Electrical 3D, so that information is already propagating across. Now, if I were to just give it a quick stretch here, we can see that this D1 connector, this hermetic D1 connector, has points going into D2 and also has wiring points going into D3. So this is just to show you that this harness does have wires linking to both of these connectors. Let's go ahead and hop over to the 3D project. Here are my 3 connectors from the schematic project. Now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and assume that these 3, because they're in our system, that is complete. So in this case, normally what a user would do is go ahead and route the lines out. So I'll go ahead and click on Route Wires. And here is where you would give that check for routing analysis. This is a new tool in 2015 to help you see these errors. In this case, I'm going to do a 3D sketch route. And these all look good. So let's go ahead and give it a go. Now, as you can see, if I look inside of my assembly, I have 1 wiring line connected to 2 of the connector points. The problem is I have 3 of them, and we have many lines based on these schematic. We have a lot of lines that need to be routed through. So if I look over here, after the routing analysis is complete, you can see that we do have several errors occurring within the assembly. So let's go ahead and take a look at the very first one. So yes, we'll go ahead and go through all of these, but the first one is just going to be manufacturer part not inserted, single error. So if I open up this little tree here, I can see that there's an issue with my D3 connector that it is not inserted. So if I go ahead and click on preview, this is going to be a good tool that we'll use throughout the webinar. So click on preview here, it'll go ahead and highlight the component under question. So let's go ahead and fix that error. I can see here that D3 is not checked. So that means that this component here is an unassociated component. The software does not see this D3 as the same D3 inside of my schematic. So what I can do is right-click onto this part, click on Associate, click on the component body, click OK, and now this component sees itself as the D3 connector from my schematic. So now let's go ahead and click Route Wires again. As you can see, now in our assembly, we now have the D3 wired up to part of the harness. The next error that we're going to look at is the manufacturer part inserted twice, single error. So once again, I'm going to click on Preview. So in this case, it looks like we have an issue with the component D2. What I'll go ahead and do is, D2 is within the project, so it is here and it is being routed correctly, but it's seeing two parts. So if I go into my SolidWorks tree, I can see that I have two D2 display states. So what I'll do is I'm going to click on this component, which shows that it's this top one. And if I click on the second one, it looks like this is the highlighted one. So I'll go ahead and delete this top D2 component. Here we go. Go back over to my project. Oh, it looks like I accidentally deleted the wrong one. That's okay. I'll go ahead and do, oh, no, that's correct. Occasionally, this will happen where it seems unchecked, but it's actually just unupdated. So if I just click on hide already inserted symbols a couple times, that will go ahead and re-update the components. There we go. So now let's go ahead and route the wires again. Now we can see that our previous error is no longer there with the manufacturer part being inserted twice. So now we have only a single D2 connector component. Okay, the next error that we'll take a look at is going to be missing connection point 3 errors. If I open this, I can see that I'm missing some terminal points within each of the connector bodies. That means very likely within the part itself, I'm missing information. So what I'll go ahead and do is, let's open up the part and take a look. If we zoom in a little closer here, we can see that we have 0_0 and incrementing up to 4, but it looks like we are missing the 5th terminal point. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll bring this, we'll use a tool called Electrical Component Wizard. From here, I'm going to go to the last screen here, and we'll create a new connection point directly onto this point to create that terminal point. So create connection point. In this case, when it sees what the software is going to increment from the last circuit number. So each circuit number is the first value, and then the second value is going to be the connection point number, so terminal number. So for example, if I had a circuit 4_0 and a circuit 4_1, that's 2 terminal points of the same circuit. So in this case, what I'll do is this is going to be circuit 5, connection point 0. I'll go ahead and select a sketch point. And I'll go ahead and exit out of the component wizard. As you can see, I now have 5_0, and that is going to complete that addition. Let's go ahead and save this. And we'll bring it back to the assembly. Once again, let's route the wires, see what the errors are. Now, if you notice, I still have missing connection point 3 errors. In this case, it looks like there's something wrong with circuit number 4. So let's go ahead and take a look at circuit number 4 again. So I'll reopen up the part. And circuit 4 is within the connector, so let's take a little closer look. I can do a right click on terminal 4 and click on edit feature. Now if I scroll through here, it looks like there is an incorrect type. So this is a type error. So instead of seeing this as an electrical component, it's trying to see it as a fabricated pipe. So this is going to be an easy fix where all I have to do is change this to electrical. My subtype, I can select whichever one I need, but I'll go ahead and keep this as a wire. And that should satisfy 4_0 for that error type. Now, just as a side tip and tricks, if you ever have a connector where you need to show the cores before it extends out to a cable, a method of that is within the part body itself, within this part model, we can create a point where the cable is going to show up when you're using the cabling, the route cabling feature tool. To do that, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and bring this back into the component wizard. And I'll use the tool create cable connection point. In this case, I've pre-created this plane on plane 1. I'm going to select this sketch point. What this does is it'll create an EW cable, which means when I route this, these wiring lines will extend into this EW cable, and the cable will extend out in this vector direction. I'll then save this. All right, let's go ahead and route our lines again. So I'll click on Route Wires. All right, it looks like we have resolved all errors, or the errors of the error type. Let's go ahead and look at the warning types now. So the first one, no valid path found. If I extend this open, it looks like it's just looking at the wiring paths. Click on Preview. It should actually just select. Looks like I have some issues here. So it looks like with the no valid path found, this is a warning because technically I can complete this harness without designing a path. The software will just select the shortest distance. But to resolve this, what I'll go ahead and do is I'm going to create a path so that I have a way where these harnesses will be connected together. So first, I'll go ahead and create a reference plane so that I can create a 3D sketch. So I'll go to Assembly, Reference Geometry, and I will create a plane. For my reference, I'm going to use the top plane. If I zoom out there, you can see that. And I'll just do a quick offset. I've pre-measured it out to 445. All right. Okay. Now, what I'll do is, inside the sketch tools, I'll go ahead and do a 3D sketch. I want to go ahead and do a 3D sketch on plane. So I'll select the plane and then select the 3D sketch on plane. Okay. Now, from here, we can go ahead and create that 3D sketch. To do that, we'll just go ahead and select a wire or a insert line tool. And since I don't want to really have any connection to these wire lines, I'll go ahead and hide them. And let's draw some lines. Start from this top point here. And I'll just make an approximation here, and we'll have this one maybe connected to about here. There's a lot of flexibility with the routing path that you create. So now that I have my sketch, I'll go ahead and use the tool Create Routing Path. And all I have to do is convert the sketch that I just created, and this will create a routing path. All right, now let's go ahead and route the wires once again. And if you notice, I still have the no valid path found. So what's going on is these wires are still not seeing this routing path. So very likely, if I go back into route wires, what you can do is you check the routing parameters. In this case, it's very likely that my distance between two routing points or between the first connection point and the first routing path is too small. And what I mean by that is if I were to do a measurement from, let's say, about the first connection point to the first routing path, I have a distance of at least, at minimum, 24 millimeters. That means when I do my route with the route wires, this value has to be greater than 24. So in this case, I'll just go ahead and put in a larger number so that I can see that first routing path. Great. Looks like that line is now following our guide path for all three of our lines. Excellent. Okay, and for the final one, we're going to look at the warning type wrong wire properties. So there's a couple ways that we can fix this issue. One is to click on the preview and then figure out what is wrong with the wire and the wire definition. In this case, it looks like I'm missing a wire size standard and also the section gauge. But this looks like it's occurring for all 9 lines. So what I can do instead of fixing that location is I can actually go over to my schematic and fix it in this location. So let's go ahead and take a look at these lines here. What I can do is do a right click, go to properties. And as I can see, when I pull up this wall style properties, I am missing information. So let's go ahead and change this information out. In this case, let's say that, for example, maybe my diameter is 0.5, and give me 1 second here. We'll say that this is 0.3. And then my gauge or section can be 0.0509 and have this in millimeters. I'll go ahead and keep the bend range the same as well. So now, once we change that wire type, that's going to change all the lines of that same type. So these 3 lines are now resolved. So let's go ahead and change the next line here. In this case, I'm also going to change to, say, 0.3. I'll change the section to the same size, and also give it that unit. And for the last one, we'll say this is 0.4 with a gauge of 0.0810 and a section, a unit section. Now this should resolve the issues. So let's go ahead and click Save, hop back over into our 3D environment, and we'll click that route wires once again. it looks like we have resolved all issues within our assembly. Once that is done, we can now go ahead and create this into a 3D or into a model sketch. So if I go ahead and click on SolidWorks Route, this will now, instead of making a sketch, it will make a 3D wiring line for us. Generally, the difference between speed is fairly low. I've seen what would take 30 seconds with the sketch might take about 4 minutes, say, with the wiring line, also depending on the size. In this case, since we only have 3 connectors, this is going to be completed very shortly. Now, I would like to go ahead and open the floor to any questions that you may have. Otherwise, okay, I'll go ahead and show you. Here we go. You may also type in your questions into the chat window as well. All right, for the most part, it looks like we don't have any questions. I'll go ahead and end this webinar now. So if you guys have any questions about what you saw today, of any of the routing issues, other errors, or anything that you would like to speak about, you can contact me directly at my email or my office line. That's going to brian@mcad.com. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining this webinar, and I look forward to seeing you next time.